The year is 490 BCE. A Persian commander stands on the coastal plain of Marathon, 26 miles northeast of Athens. Before him stretches a carefully orchestrated invasion force, 600 transport vessels, 25,000 infantry, 1,000 cavalry. The logistical achievement is staggering. Grain supplies calculated to the amphora, remount stations pre-positioned across the Aegean, intelligence networks embedded in every Greek port city. Yet the plan contains a fatal assumption. The Persians believe the Greeks will fight as individuals, that their city-states will fracture under diplomatic pressure, that gold will accomplish what bronze cannot. This miscalculation will define the next 50 years of human history. The Persian Empire, spanning 3 continents and ruling 44% of the global population, is about to collide with a collection of fractious Greek polities whose combined territory would fit inside a single Persian satrapy. The canvas is geopolitical, the medium is violence. The conflict emerges not from territorial ambition alone, but from incompatible political architectures. Persia operates as a centralized empire. The king of kings commands through appointed satraps, enforces through standing armies, administers through standardized coinage and Aramaic bureaucracy. The system is a masterpiece of administrative efficiency. Darius I rules from Susa, yet his authority extends to the Hindu Kush, to the Nile Delta, to the shores of the Black Sea. Greece exists as its opposite. The polis, the city-state, functions as an autonomous political unit. Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Thebes, each maintains independent foreign policy, separate military doctrine, distinct constitutional arrangements. Sparta perfects the oligarchic military state. Athens experiments with democratia, rule by the demos. Corinth pursues commercial oligarchy. The fragmentation is profound. Greeks share language, religion, Olympic Games. They do not share government. The collision point is Ionia. Greek cities on the Anatolian coast exist under Persian control since Cyrus the Great's campaigns of the 540s BCE. The arrangement is pragmatic. Local tyrants govern on behalf of the great king. Tribute flows east. Persian garrisons maintain order. But Athens and Eretria cities on the Greek mainland view these Ionian Greeks as kinsmen under foreign domination. In 499 BCE, Aristagoras of Miletus ignites the Ionian revolt. His motivations are complex: personal, political vulnerability, economic grievances against Persian taxation, ideological resistance to tyranny. He travels to Sparta seeking military support. The Spartans, calculating the logistical nightmare of projecting power across the Aegean, refuse. Athens, newly democratic and ideologically sympathetic, votes to send 20 triremes warships and 1,000 hoplites. Eretria contributes 5 triremes. The expeditionary force is modest. Its consequences are catastrophic. To understand the Persian response, one must comprehend the empire's strategic architecture. Darius I inherited a realm created by Cyrus and expanded by Cambyses. By 490 BCE, the Achaemenid Empire encompasses 23 satrapies, each a former kingdom now integrated into a system of tribute, military conscription, and cultural absorption. The royal road stretches 1,600 miles from Susa to Sardis, with relay stations every 15 miles. Royal messengers traverse the distance in 7 days, a communications network unmatched, until the Roman cursus publicus centuries later. Persian military doctrine relies on combined arms integration. The core infantry consists of the Sparabara spearmen carrying wicker shields, fighting in dense formations. Archers operate behind them, delivering volley fire over the shield wall. Light infantry javelin men, slingers, provide skirmishing capability. Cavalry, drawn from Iranian and Median aristocracy, executes flanking maneuvers and pursuit operations. The great king can mobilize armies exceeding 100,000 men, drawing contingents from subject peoples: Medes, Elamites, Babylonians, Egyptians, Bactrians, Indians. This diversity is both strength and vulnerability. The forces possess varied equipment, differing tactical doctrines, limited linguistic coherence. Persian commanders function as orchestrators of multicultural violence, coordinating disparate units through standardized signals and hierarchical command structures. The Immortals, the 10,000-strong royal guard, provide the empire's elite strike force. Herodotus names them for their constant strength. When one falls, another immediately replaces him. They carry short spears, bows, and daggers. Their wicker shields offer mobility rather than comprehensive protection. They represent the empire's capacity for sustained professional warfare. Against this machinery, the Greeks deploy the phalanx. The hoplite phalanx emerges from the social structure of the polis. Greek warfare is citizen warfare. The hoplite, a heavily armored infantryman, purchases his own equipment: bronze breastplate, bronze greaves, bronze helmet, circular shield, aspis, spear, dory, short sword, xiphos. The financial barrier restricts hoplite status to property-owning citizens, farmers, merchants, craftsmen. Warfare becomes a civic obligation tied to political participation. The phalanx formation is 8 ranks deep, each man positioned shoulder to shoulder, shield overlapping his neighbor's right side. The formation's power derives from collective cohesion. Individual heroics are subordinated to unit integrity. The phalanx advances at a walk, maintaining alignment. At spear length, the front ranks thrust overhand, seeking throat and face the unarmored vulnerabilities. Rear ranks press forward, adding momentum and replacing casualties. The doctrine contains inherent limitations. Phalanx warfare requires flat terrain. The formation cannot easily traverse broken ground, cannot rapidly change direction, cannot pursue fleeing enemies without losing cohesion. The hoplite carries 60 pounds of bronze and wood. Sustained combat exhausts men in minutes. Battles are decided quickly: push of pike, collision of shields, the terrible intimacy of bronze entering flesh. Yet the system possesses decisive advantages against Persian combined arms. The hoplite's bronze armor renders archery minimally effective at close range. The shield wall negates cavalry charges. If the phalanx maintains formation, if it absorbs the initial contact, if it pushes forward with disciplined momentum, it becomes a bronze battering ram against which lighter-armed infantry cannot stand. The vulnerability is flanks. The phalanx presents an armored front but exposed sides. If cavalry or light infantry envelope the formation, if the line breaks, the advantage collapses. Greek commanders obsess over securing flanks anchoring against terrain features, extending the line to prevent envelopment, coordinating with allied contingents. The tactical challenge is elegant: how to bring the phalanx into contact with the enemy while protecting its vulnerable edges. The Athenian and Eretrian expeditionary force lands at Ephesus in 498 BCE. The Ionians, emboldened by mainland support, march on Sardis, the satrapal capital of Lydia. The city falls with shocking ease. Persian forces retreat to the citadel. The Greeks plunder the lower city, then fire. Whether accident or arson remains disputed. The flames consume Sardis, including the temple of Cybele, sacred shrine to the Anatolian mother goddess. The Persians interpret the destruction as deliberate sacrilege. Persian forces regroup. At the Battle of Ephesus, they engage the retreating Greeks. The Ionians suffer heavy casualties. The Athenians and Eretrians withdraw to their ships, returning to the mainland. Their participation in the revolt lasts mere weeks, but Darius does not forget. Herodotus records the great king's response. Upon learning of Athens' role in burning Sardis, Darius orders a servant to repeat 3 times daily, "Master, remember the Athenians." The anecdote, whether literal or literary construct, captures Persian strategic memory. The empire does not forgive insults. Athens has crossed a threshold. It must be punished. The Ionian revolt consumed 6 years. Persian forces methodically reduce rebel cities. The Phoenician fleet, Persian naval vassals, blockades Ionian ports. Persian armies besiege fortifications. The decisive engagement occurs at the Battle of Lade in 494 BCE, a naval confrontation off Miletus. The Ionian fleet, numerically superior, suffers from political disunity. Several contingents defect or flee. The Persians achieve crushing victory. Miletus falls. The Persians enslave the population, execute the men, deport the women and children to Susa. The city, once the intellectual heart of Greek Ionia, home to Thales, Anaximander Hecataeus, is depopulated. The message is explicit: resistance invites annihilation. Yet Darius recognizes that military suppression alone cannot guarantee stability. He replaces the system of appointed tyrants with democratic governments, a calculated concession to Greek political culture. The satrap Artaparnus standardizes tribute assessments, reducing economic grievances. The reforms are pragmatic. Persia seeks compliant subjects, not perpetual occupation. But Athens and Eretria remain unpunished. The empire's credibility demands response. An attack on Persian territory cannot stand unanswered. The logistical preparation begins. Darius appoints two commanders, his nephew Artaparnus and the Median general Datis. The dual command structure reflects Persian administrative practice preventing individual generals from accumulating excessive power, ensuring loyalty through divided authority. The expedition's objective is punitive, not annexation. The Persians do not seek to conquer all of Greece's logistical impossibility. They aim to destroy Athens and Eretria, to demonstrate the cost of defying the great king, to deter future interference in Persian affairs. The invasion route is maritime. The army will embark on transport vessels, island-hopping across the Aegean, landing directly on the Greek mainland. This avoids the overland route through Thrace, mountainous, logistically challenging, vulnerable to ambush. Naval transport enables surprise, concentrates forces at the objective, leverages Persia's Phoenician and Egyptian naval superiority. The Persians recruit Hippias, the exiled Athenian tyrant, as a guide. Hippias, overthrown by democratic revolution in 510 BCE, provides intelligence on Athenian politics, identifies potential collaborators, promises a pro-Persian faction within Athens. The Persians calculate that Athens will surrender without battle, that democratic fragility will collapse under external pressure. The plan is sophisticated. The execution is meticulous. What the Persians fail to anticipate is Greek desperation and the revolutionary command decision of an Athenian general named Miltiades. The expeditionary force assembles at Cilicia in 490 BCI. The logistics are monumental: 600 transports, warships for escort, supplies for a multi-month campaign. The Persians load infantry, cavalry, siege equipment, and provisions. The fleet carries enough grain to sustain the army during initial operations, with plans to requisition additional supplies from conquered territories. The Persian infantry comprises multiple contingents. The core Sparabara formations, perhaps 15,000 men, carry spears, daggers, and wicker shields. These troops function as the empire's line infantry, capable of sustained combat in organized formations. Their shields, made of woven reeds, offer limited protection but allow rapid movement. Persian doctrine emphasizes mobility and archery over heavy armor. The archers, another 8,000 to 10,000 men, operate behind the Sparabara, delivering massed volley fire. Persian composite bows, constructed from wood, horn, and sinew, possess effective range of 150 to 200 meters. The arrows cannot penetrate bronze armor reliably, but they kill unarmored men, horses, and lightly protected skirmishers. The tactical concept is suppression. Archery pins enemy formations, disrupts cohesion, creates opportunities for infantry assault. The cavalry force numbers approximately 1,000 horsemen, a modest contingent by Persian standards. Constrained by the difficulties of transporting horses by sea, the riders, drawn from Iranian and Median nobility, wear scale armor, carry javelins and spears, ride without stirrups. Their function is reconnaissance, flank protection, and pursuit. Against hoplites, cavalry is of limited effectiveness in frontal assault. The phalanx's armored density repels mounted charges. But if the phalanx breaks, if gaps appear, cavalry becomes lethal. The Immortals, perhaps 2,000 men, accompany the expedition, providing elite shock troops and bodyguards for the commanders. They wear distinctive uniforms, long robes, felt caps, tiaras, gold jewelry. Their equipment is superior: iron-tipped spears, higher quality bows, better armor. They represent the empire's capacity for sustained warfare, its investment in professional military excellence. The fleet's composition is multinational: Phoenician triremes from Tyre and Sidon, Egyptian warships, Ionian Greek vessels crewed by conscripted sailors. The Phoenicians are the empire's premier naval force, their seamanship unmatched in the eastern Mediterranean. the integration of subject peoples into Persian military operations is both practical and symbolic. The empire demonstrates its ability to mobilize the resources of 3 continents. Athens in 490 BCE is a democracy in its infancy. The reforms of Cleisthenes, enacted just 2 decades earlier, established the principle of isonomia equality before law. The citizen body, numbering approximately 30,000 men, elects 10 generals, strategoi, annually, 1 from each tribe. These generals command by committee, each holding supreme command, Prytania, for 1 day in rotation. The system is innovative but unwieldy. Coordinated military operations require unified command. Factional politics intrude into strategic decisions. Some generals advocate negotiation with Persia, others demand resistance. The rotating command creates operational inconsistency. The Athenian hoplite force numbers approximately 9,000 men. Each hoplite provides his own equipment, creating visible stratification. Wealthy citizens wear full bronze panoply linothorax or bronze cuirass, bronze helmet, greaves, the aspis shield. Poorer citizens, the Thetes serve as light infantry or rowers in the fleet, lacking hoplite armor. The result is a citizen army with variable equipment quality, but unified by civic identity. The Athenian generals include Miltiades, a controversial figure. He previously ruled as tyrant of the Thracian Chersonese, a strategic peninsula controlling grain routes from the Black Sea. He governed under Persian overlordship, accompanying Darius during the Scythian expedition. When the Ionian revolt erupted, Miltiades fled to Athens, narrowly escaping Persian retribution. His critics accuse him of collaboration. His supporters recognize his intimate knowledge of Persian military methods. Miltiades advocates immediate offensive action. He argues that the phalanx's strength its armored cohesion negates. Persian numerical superiority if the Greeks engage decisively before Persian cavalry can deploy. Other generals counsel waiting for Spartan reinforcements. The debate reveals the tension between collective decision-making and military necessity. The Athenians request aid from Sparta, sending the courier Phidippides, the origin of the marathon legend, on the 140-mile run to Lacedaemon. The Spartans agree to send forces, but religious obligation delays them. The festival of Apollo Carneos forbids military campaigns until the full moon. The commitment is genuine, the timing catastrophic. Athens cannot wait. The city also appeals to Plataea, a small Boeotian polis allied to Athens. The Plataeans send their entire hoplite force, 1,000 men. The gesture is extraordinary. Plataea risks annihilation if Athens falls, yet honors the alliance unconditionally. The Plataean contingent fights on the Athenian left flank at Marathon, sharing the phalanx's risks without expectation of proportional glory. The hoplite panoply represents centuries of metallurgical refinement. The aspis shield, 3 feet in diameter, consists of wood core faced with bronze, weighing approximately 15 pounds. A bronze armband, porpax, grips the forearm. A leather strap, antilabe, is grasped by the hand. The shield's concave interior provides space for the arm. The exterior is often decorated with family emblems or city symbols, the Spartan lambda, the Athenian owl, the Theban sphinx. The dory spear measures 7 to 9 feet, constructed from cornel wood with bronze spearhead and bronze butt spike. The dual-pointed design serves practical purpose. If the spearhead breaks, the butt spike becomes a weapon. The hoplite thrusts overhand or underhand, depending on enemy disposition. The spear's expendable hoplites carry the Xiphos sword as secondary weapon. The Corinthian helmet, iconic of Greek warfare, encases the entire head in bronze, leaving only T-shaped openings for eyes and mouth. The design offers comprehensive protection but severely restricts peripheral vision and hearing. Hoplites advance in formation, relying on comrades for situational awareness. The helmet's weight 4 to 5 pounds combined with breastplate, greaves, shield, and weapons creates immense physical burden. The Greeks do not employ professional archers or cavalry in significant numbers. Archery is considered unheroic killing at distance without personal risk, violates the hoplite ethos of face-to-face combat. Cavalry is rare in mainland Greece due to terrain and expense. The Athenians field no cavalry at Marathon. The phalanx is the exclusive instrument of decision. Persian equipment reflects different tactical priorities. The wicker shield, spara, large enough to provide cover while kneeling, allows archers to operate from behind protective screens. Persian infantry spears are shorter than the Greek dory, suitable for thrusting and loose formation but ineffective against the phalanx's extended reach. Persian armor is lighter scale or quilted linen, prioritizing mobility over protection. The composite bow is the empire's technological masterpiece. Its construction requires months. Wood core provides elasticity, horn laminated on the belly provides compression strength, sinew glued on the back provides tensile strength. The materials are bonded using animal hide glue, cured over years. The resulting weapon stores more energy than a simple wooden bow, achieving greater range and penetration. But composite bows are vulnerable to moisture. Humidity weakens the glue, reducing performance. The Persian reliance on archery creates environmental dependency. Persian combined arms doctrine is elegant in theory. The sparabara establish a shield wall. Archers deliver volley fire, suppressing enemy formations. Cavalry exploits flanks and gaps. Light infantry javelin men. Slingers harass enemy cohesion. The system requires coordination, timing, and terrain that allows cavalry maneuver. Greek doctrine is simpler but more brittle. The phalanx advances, maintains formation, engages in close combat. If the line holds, Greek armor and spear length provide decisive advantage. If the line breaks, the formation collapses. There is no tactical depth, no reserve doctrine, no cavalry to exploit success. The phalanx is a single, terrible instrument of shock. The doctrinal clash poses an operational puzzle. The Persians must prevent the phalanx from closing distance, using archery and cavalry to disrupt Greek cohesion. The Greeks must advance rapidly, minimizing exposure to archery, engaging before Persian cavalry deploys. The terrain becomes the third combatant, its features determining which doctrine prevails. The expedition sails in summer 490 BCE. The Persians first attack Eretria, landing on Euboea. The city resists for 6 days before betrayal delivers it to the Persians. The garrison is massacred, the population enslaved. Hippias, the exiled Athenian tyrant, guides the fleet across the strait to Marathon. The selection of Marathon is strategic. The plain, 26 miles northeast of Athens, offers flat ground suitable for cavalry operations. The bay provides safe anchorage for the fleet. Hippias knows the terrain. He landed here decades earlier during his father's seizure of power. He expects pro-Persian factions within Athens to overthrow the democratic government, delivering the city without prolonged siege. The Persians disembark, establishing camp near the beach. The cavalry is offloaded, a time-consuming process requiring shallow draft vessels, ramps, and careful handling of nervous horses. The infantry forms defensive perimeter. The Persians wait, anticipating Athenian surrender or civil collapse. Athens does neither. The Athenian hoplites march to Marathon, taking position in the foothills south of the plain. The Plataeans join them. The combined force 10,000 men camps in the precinct of Heracles, a sacred grove offering water and defensive terrain. The Greeks do not advance onto the plain. They wait. The stalemate extends for days. The Persians cannot assault the Greek position. Attacking uphill against entrenched hoplites invites catastrophic casualties. The Greeks cannot attack the Persian camp. Descending onto the plain exposes them to cavalry and archery. Both armies wait for the opponent to make the fatal error. The Athenian generals debate. Some advocate returning to Athens, preparing for siege. Others insist on blocking the Persian advance. The rotating command prevents decisive action. Each day, a different general holds supreme authority. The paralysis reflects democratic governance at its worst. Miltiades argues for attack. His reasoning is tactical and political. Tactically, he observes that Persian cavalry has not fully deployed. The horses require grazing, watering, and rest after transport. If the Greeks attack before cavalry can form, they negate Persia's combined arms advantage. Politically, delay allows pro-Persian factions in Athens to gain influence, risking betrayal from within. The decision mechanism is unique. The Athenian polemarch, war archon Callimachus, holds a casting vote in tied decisions among the generals. Miltiades persuades Callimachus. The vote passes. The Greeks will attack. The Marathon Plain is approximately 2 miles wide, bounded by sea on the east, mountains on the west, marshland on the south. The Persian camp lies near the beach, protected by the fleet's presence. The Greeks must descend from the foothills, cross roughly 1 mile of open ground, and engage the Persian infantry before cavalry can envelope them. Miltiades deploys the phalanx in unconventional formation. Typically, Greek phalanxes are 8 ranks deep. Miltiades weakens the center to 4 ranks, extending the line to prevent envelopment. The wings left and right remain 8 ranks deep, providing strength at the flanks. The formation is a calculated risk. The center may break under pressure, but the strong wings can envelope a penetrating enemy. The Athenians hold the right wing, the position of honor. The Plataeans hold the left. The center consists of middle-ranked Athenian tribes. Callimachus commands the right wing. Miltiades likely positions himself with strategic reserve if such a concept exists in Greek warfare to coordinate the overall engagement. The battle begins at dawn. The Greeks advance at a walk, maintaining formation. At approximately 200 meters, the effective range of Persian archery, the Greeks break into a run. The acceleration is desperate and brilliant. It minimizes time under arrow fire, preserves momentum, creates psychological shock. The Persian archers release volleys. Arrows arc into the advancing hoplites. Most strike shields or armor, glancing off bronze. Some find gaps, throats, thighs, faces. Men fall. The phalanx maintains cohesion. The collision is horrific. Greek spears thrust into Persian infantry. The Sparabara formations, designed for looser combat, cannot withstand the armored mass of the phalanx. The Greek wings push forward. The Persian flanks collapse. But the Greek center, weakened by Miltiades' deployment, buckles under Persian pressure. The Sparabara and Immortals drive into the thinned ranks. The Athenian center retreats. The Persian infantry advances. This is the moment Miltiades has engineered. As the Persian center pursues the retreating Greeks, the strong Greek wings, having routed the Persian flanks, wheel inward. The Athenian right and Plataean left converge on the advancing Persian center. The envelopment is complete. The Persians, now attacked from 3 sides, attempt to withdraw. The formation disintegrates. The phalanx, designed for frontal combat, excels in pursuit of broken enemies. Hoplites drive spears into fleeing Persians. The retreat becomes rout. The Persians flee toward the ships. The Greeks pursue, abandoning formation in bloodlust. At the water's edge, desperate fighting erupts. The Persians attempt to launch vessels. Greeks seize sterns, trying to drag ships ashore. Callimachus, the Polemarch, dies here killed as he grasps a ship's ornament. His sacrifice becomes legendary. The Persians lose 7 ships captured. The rest escape. The fleet sails south, intending to assault Athens while its army is absent at Marathon. But the Athenians anticipate this. The hoplites, exhausted from battle and pursuit, march the 26 miles back to Athens, arriving before the Persian fleet. The Persians, observing the Athenian army defending the city walls, abandon the assault and sail for Asia. Greek losses: 192 Athenians killed, including Callimachus. The number is precise because Athens buries its dead in a collective tomb, the Charos, on the battlefield. Archaeological excavation confirms the burial's existence. Plataean casualties are unrecorded but likely modest given their wings' success. Persian losses: Herodotus claims 6,400 killed. The figure is plausible if it includes casualties during the rout and pursuit, when broken formations suffer disproportionate losses. Modern historians question the precision but accept the order of magnitude. Persian casualties vastly exceed Greek losses. The disparity reflects the phalanx's decisive advantage in close combat. Once the Persian formation broke, the lighter armed infantry could not resist armored pursuit. The victory is not merely tactical but psychological. A citizen militia defeated the empire that conquered Egypt, Babylon, and Lydia. Marathon establishes the phalanx's effectiveness against Persian combined arms. The Greeks learn that Persian archery, though intimidating, cannot stop determined assault. Persian infantry, effective in their own tactical context, cannot stand against bronze-armored shock. The battle validates Greek confidence in heavy infantry doctrine. For Persia, Marathon is an embarrassment, not a catastrophe. The expeditionary force loses fewer than 10,000 men, a modest fraction of imperial military capacity. The strategic objective punishing Athens fails, but the empire remains intact. Darius begins preparing a far larger invasion. Marathon also establishes Athens' claim to leadership among Greek city-states. The Spartans, arriving after the battle, tour the battlefield and congratulate the Athenians. But the victories exclusively Athenian Sparta contributed nothing. The psychological impact reshapes Greek politics. Athens, once overshadowed by Spartan military prestige, asserts itself as Persia's equal. The Athenians bury their dead beneath a mound that remains visible today. The Shoros becomes pilgrimage site, the battle a foundational myth. The victory demonstrates that free citizens fighting for their polis can defeat professional armies fighting for an emperor. The ideological significance exceeds the tactical outcome. Marathon is not decisive, it is inaugural. The war has just begun. Darius dies in 486 BCE before launching his planned invasion. His son Xerxes inherits the throne. The new great king faces revolts in Egypt and Babylon, delaying Greek operations. But Xerxes is committed to finishing his father's war. The humiliation at Marathon must be erased. Greece must be punished. The preparation is unprecedented. Xerxes spends 4 years assembling the largest military force in ancient history. He conscripts contingents from every satrapy: Persians, Medes, Assyrians, Egyptians, Indians, Ethiopians, Arabs, Thracians. Herodotus claims 1.7 million infantry, 80,000 cavalry, numbers inflated by ancient convention but indicating a force exceeding 100,000 combatants. The logistical planning is meticulous. Supply depots are established along the invasion route through Thrace and Macedonia. A canal is dug through the Athos Peninsula, avoiding the treacherous sea route that destroyed a Persian fleet during an earlier expedition. 2 pontoon bridges span the Hellespont, boat hulls lashed together, planks laid across, anchors securing against current. The engineering is extraordinary. The bridges carry the army across from Asia to Europe in 7 days and 7 nights of continuous crossing. The Persians march overland through Thrace, avoiding maritime vulnerability. The fleet, perhaps 600 triremes, drawn from Phoenicia, Egypt, and Ionian Greece, sails parallel to the army, providing supply transport and coastal protection. The invasion is a coordinated amphibious operation on a scale not witnessed until Alexander's campaigns 150 years later. The Greeks, fragmented and terrified, debate response. Some city-states submit immediately, offering earth and water symbols of subjugation. Thebes, Argos, and many others choose collaboration over resistance. The Persian diplomatic offensive is effective. Xerxes offers generous terms to cities that surrender, threatens annihilation to those that resist. Athens and Sparta choose resistance, but their strategies diverge. Athens, under the leadership of Themistocles, invests in naval power, building 200 triremes from the silver mines of Laurium. The decision is revolutionary. Athens transforms from land power to naval power, staking its survival on wooden ships. Sparta, committed to land warfare, proposes defending the Isthmus of Corinth, the narrow strip connecting the Peloponnese to central Greece. The strategy abandons Athens, Thebes, and all of northern and central Greece. The Athenians reject this. Without a forward defense, Athens cannot evacuate its population, cannot resist Persian naval assault. A compromise is brokered. The Greeks will defend 2 positions simultaneously: Thermopylae on land, Artemisium at sea. Both are narrow passages where Greek forces can negate Persian numerical superiority. The plan is elegant. The army holds Thermopylae, the fleet holds Artemisium, each supporting the other. If one falls, both must retreat. Thermopylae, the Hot Gates, named for sulfur springs, is a coastal pass between mountains and sea. In 480 BCE, the passage is 50 feet wide at its narrowest point. Modern coastal erosion and sediment deposition have widened the pass, but in antiquity it was a choke point. An army approaching from the north must funnel through the pass to reach central Greece. The Greeks fortify the middle gate, the narrowest section, with a rebuilt defensive wall. King Leonidas of Sparta commands the allied force: 300 Spartan peers, full citizens, 700 Thespians, 400 Thebans, and approximately 3,000 to 4,000 Peloponnesian hoplites. The total force is approximately 4,000 to 5,000 men, absurdly outnumbered. The Greeks understand they are a delaying force. The main Greek army cannot deploy until the religious festivals, the Olympic Games and Carnea, are complete. Leonidas' mission is to hold Thermopylae for days, allowing the Greek fleet at Artemisium to engage the Persian navy, buying time for the main hoplite levies to mobilize. The defensive position is formidable. The Persians cannot employ cavalry, the terrain is unsuitable. They cannot use archery effectively, the range is too short, the defenders too well protected. The Persians must attack frontally, feeding infantry into the meat grinder of the phalanx. But the position contains a fatal flaw: the Anapaea path, a mountain trail circumventing the pass. Local Phocian hoplites, 1,000 men, guard this route. The Greeks are aware of its existence. The question is whether the Persians will discover it. Xerxes waits 4 days, expecting the Greeks to retreat. They do not. The great king orders assault. The first attacks employ subject peoples Medes and Scythians conscripted from the empire's eastern provinces. They advance in loose formation, carrying wicker shields and short spears. The phalanx, 8 ranks deep, meets them at the wall. The Greek spear length advantage is decisive. Persian infantry cannot reach the Greeks without exposing themselves to thrusts over the shield wall. The Medes die in heaps. Xerxes escalates, committing the immortals. These elite troops attack in organized formations, attempting to break the phalanx through disciplined pressure. The Greeks execute a tactical innovation, feigned retreats. The phalanx withdraws, drawing the immortals forward, then turns and counterattacks. The Persians, expecting rout, collide with reformed ranks. The tactic works repeatedly. The immortals suffer catastrophic casualties. The combat is exhausting. Hoplites fight in relays, front ranks engage until fatigue overwhelms, then withdraw to rear positions while fresh troops rotate forward. The system allows sustained combat for hours. The Persians, attacking continuously, cannot match this endurance. Their infantry lacks the armor to withstand repeated phalanx counterattacks. After 2 days of frontal assault, Persian casualties number in the thousands. The Greeks lose fewer than 100 men. The disparity is staggering. Xerxes faces strategic dilemma: continue bleeding his army at Thermopylae or find alternative route. A local Greek, Ephialtes, approaches the Persian camp. His motivations are debated: greed, political alignment with Persia, personal grievance against the Greeks. He reveals the Anapaea path. He offers to guide Persian troops through the mountains, descending behind the Greek position. Xerxes assigns the task to Hydarnes, commander of the immortals. During the night, a column of Persian troops, perhaps 10,000 men, march up the mountain trail. At dawn, they encounter the Phocian guards. The Phocians, caught unprepared, retreat without significant resistance. The Persians descend toward the southern exit of Thermopylae. Leonidas receives warning deserters from the Persian camp, or scouts observing the flanking column. He faces impossible choice. If he withdraws the entire force, he abandons the mission. If he remains, he invites annihilation. He chooses a middle course. Leonidas dismisses the allied contingents Peloponnesians, Locrians, Phocians, ordering them to retreat south to join the main Greek army assembling at the isthmus. He retains the 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, who refuse to leave, and 400 Thebans, possibly as hostages, ensuring Thebes does not immediately defect to Persia. The remaining force, approximately 1,400 men, prepares for final stand. The decision is tactical and symbolic. Tactically, a small rearguard can delay the Persians for critical hours, allowing the dismissed troops to escape. Symbolically, Leonidas chooses death over retreat, a decision consistent with Spartan military culture, which forbids surrender. The Greeks abandon the wall, advancing onto the wider plain beyond the pass. The position offers no defensive advantage. Leonidas seeks open ground to maximize casualties before annihilation. The Spartans fight with controlled fury, knowing death is certain. The phalanx becomes a mechanism of vengeance. Persian infantry attacks from the front. The flanking column closes from the rear. The Greeks are surrounded. Leonidas falls, his body contested in savage hand-to-hand combat. The Persians' attempt to capture his corpse, desecrating enemy commanders, is psychological warfare. The Spartans fight over the body 4 times, recovering it each time. The phalanx contracts as casualties mount. The Greeks retreat to a hillock within the passive final defensive position. Persian infantry surrounds them. The Greeks abandon spears, fighting with swords. When swords break, they fight with hands and teeth. The Persians, unable to break the final formation in close combat, withdraw and saturate the hillock with archery. The last Greeks die under arrow storm. The 300 Spartans perish. The 700 Thespians perish. The 400 Thebans attempt surrender. Some Persians accept, others execute them. By midday, Thermopylae is a Persian victory. Simultaneously, the Greek fleet engages the Persians at Artemisium, the strait north of Euboea. The naval battle is tactically inconclusive. Neither side achieves decisive victory. But storms devastate the Persian fleet. A 3-day tempest wrecks approximately 200 Persian triremes along the Magnesian coast. Another squadron, attempting to sail around Euboea to trap the Greeks, is destroyed by storm. The Greek fleet, commanded by the Spartan Eurybiades with Themistocles as Athenian admiral, employs the Deiplusa ramming maneuver where triremes break through enemy lines, turn, and strike from behind. The Greek triremes are heavier, slower, but better crewed. The Persians rely on superior numbers and Phoenician seamanship. The naval engagements are brutal. Triremes ram each other, bronze beaks smashing through hulls. Crews board enemy vessels, fighting on wet decks with swords and spears. Drowning is common. Few ancient sailors swim competently. The sea becomes grave. When news of Thermopylae's fall reaches the fleet, the Greeks withdraw. The defensive line is broken. The Persians advance into central Greece. Thermopylae is a defeat that becomes a victory of narrative. The Greeks lose the battle but win immortality. The 300 Spartans become legend, the paradigm of sacrifice for freedom. The poet Simonides composes the famous epitaph, "Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie." Tactically, Thermopylae delays the Persians for 7 days. This allows the Greek army to mobilize, the Athenians to evacuate their city, the fleet to reposition. Without the delay, the Greeks cannot coordinate resistance. Leonidas' sacrifice purchases time, the most precious commodity in war. Strategically, Thermopylae demonstrates Persian vulnerability. Despite overwhelming numbers, the empire cannot break a well-positioned phalanx in favorable terrain. The Greeks learn that the Persians are mortal, that their army is not invincible, that courage and terrain can negate numerical superiority. The Persians advance unopposed through central Greece. Athens is evacuated, the population flees to Salamis and the Peloponnese. Xerxes enters Athens, finding it deserted. The Persians burn the Acropolis, destroying the temples. The act is revenge for Sardis' symmetry of sacrilege. But Xerxes has not conquered Greece. He has conquered territory. The Greek fleet remains intact. The Greek army remains undefeated. The war continues. The decisive engagement awaits. September 480 BCE, the Persian army occupies Athens. The Greek fleet, approximately 370 triremes, is anchored in the narrow strait between Salamis Island and the Attic mainland. The Greek allied army defends the Isthmus of Corinth, constructing walls across the narrow land bridge. The defensive posture is desperate. If the Persian fleet defeats the Greek navy, the Persians can bypass the isthmus, landing armies directly in the Peloponnese. If the Greek army abandons the isthmus, the Persians march south unopposed. Xerxes controls the strategic initiative. He can wait, allowing his superior numbers to exert pressure. He can assault the isthmus by land while the fleet attacks Salamis from the sea. He can offer generous surrender terms, exploiting Greek disunity. The Greeks are fractured. Peloponnesian commanders advocate withdrawing the fleet to the isthmus, abandoning Salamis and the Athenian refugees. The Athenians, whose population shelters on Salamis, demand the fleet remain. Themistocles, the Athenian commander, understands the operational geometry. In open water, the Persian fleet's numerical superiority, perhaps 600 to 800 triremes, reduced by storms but still overwhelming, will prevail. The Phoenician and Egyptian crews, experienced in Mediterranean naval warfare, will execute coordinated maneuvers, encircling and destroying isolated Greek squadrons. But in the narrow waters of the Salamis Strait, the Persian advantage collapses. The Greeks can form defensive lines, preventing envelopment. The Persians must attack frontally, feeding ships into a constrained space where Greek ramming tactics excel. Themistocles' challenge is twofold: convince the Greek allies to remain at Salamis, and convince Xerxes to attack. Themistocles deploys psychological warfare. He sends his slave Salamis to the Persian camp with a fabricated message. The Greeks are planning to withdraw during the night, fleeing to the Peloponnese. If the Persians move immediately, they can trap the Greek fleet during evacuation, destroying it piecemeal. The message includes a loyalty pledge. Themistocles secretly supports Persia, will betray the Greeks during battle. Xerxes accepts the intelligence. The claim aligns with his assessment of Greek fragility. The expeditionary force has conquered Greek territory without decisive naval engagement. Xerxes believes one final battle will shatter Greek resistance. He orders the fleet to seal the exits from the Salamis Strait during the night, preventing Greek escape. The Persian fleet moves into position. Egyptian squadrons block the western exit near Megara. The main Phoenician and Ionian forces position at the eastern entrance of the strait. The Persians spend the night at battle stations, crews exhausted, expecting Greek flight. The Greeks, meanwhile, remain anchored at Salamis. They are not fleeing. Themistocles has deceived Xerxes into committing to battle in the confined waters where Greek advantages are maximized. The Salamis Strait is approximately 1 mile wide at its narrowest point. The coastlines are irregular Salamis Island to the west, the Attic mainland to the east. The shallow water near shores restricts maneuver. The confined space negates Persian numerical superiority. The Persians cannot deploy their full fleet simultaneously. They must attack in successive waves, feeding triremes into the strait where Greek defensive lines await. Dawn breaks on September 29, 480 BCE. The Greek fleet 370 triremes forms line of battle. The Athenians, with 180 ships, hold the left wing. The Spartans, Corinthians, and other Peloponnesians hold the right. The formation is concave, curving slightly inward, baiting the Persians into the narrowest water. Xerxes observes from a throne erected on Mount Aegaleus, overlooking the strait. Herodotus records that scribes sit beside him, recording the performance of individual commanders, rewarding bravery, noting cowardice. The great king expects spectacle, the destruction of Greek naval power, the final act of conquest. The Persian fleet enters the strait. The Phoenicians lead the empire's premier naval force. Their triremes are faster, more maneuverable in open water, but the strait is not open water. The confined space forces the Phoenicians into constrained formation. Behind them, Ionian Greek squadrons, Egyptian vessels, and Cilician ships crowd the entrance, creating congestion. The Greeks initially back water rowing and reverse drawing the Persians deeper into the strait. The Persians interpret this as Greek hesitation, even panic. They surge forward, then the Greeks attack. The Greek triremes, heavier and more solidly constructed than many Persian vessels, ram bow first into enemy ships. The bronze-sheathed rams, positioned at the waterline, smash through hulls. The impact is catastrophic. Planks shatter, seams split, water floods the lower decks. Persian triremes, hold below the waterline, sink rapidly. The Persian fleet's advantage numbers and maneuverability becomes liability in confined water. Ships collide with each other, oars entangle, formations disintegrate. The Greeks, operating in coordinated lines, maintain formation. The Athenians, commanded by Themistocles, execute the Deeplis maneuver, rowing through gaps in the Persian line, turning sharply, ramming from behind. The tactic requires exceptional crew training. The Athenian rowers, drawn from the Thetes class, have drilled for years. The Phoenicians, caught in the vanguard, suffer disproportionately. Greek triremes surround isolated Phoenician vessels, boarding them with Marines' hoplites trained for naval combat. The close-quarters fighting is savage. Hoplites thrust spears across decks, shield walls clashing on wet planks. Persians, many unable to swim, drown when ships capsize. The Queen Artemisia of Halicarnassus, commanding a squadron in the Persian fleet, executes a controversial maneuver. To escape pursuing Greek triremes, she rams a Persian-allied vessel, a Calindian ship, sinking it. The pursuing Greeks, seeing her attack a Persian ship, assume she is allied to Greece and break off pursuit. Xerxes, observing from shore, sees Artemisia ram a ship and assumes it is Greek. He reportedly declares, "My men have become women, and my women men." The battle extends for hours. The Persian fleet, unable to deploy effectively in the strait, loses cohesion. Greek triremes pursue fleeing Persians into open water beyond the strait's eastern exit. Persian ships, attempting to retreat, collide with incoming vessels still trying to enter the battle. The chaos is total. The Persian fleet loses approximately 200 triremes sunk or captured. Greek losses number approximately 40 ships. The disparity reflects the tactical environment. Greek advantages heavier rams. Better trained crews, defensive positioning overwhelm Persian numerical superiority in confined water. But the strategic impact exceeds the tactical casualties. The Persian fleet, though still numerically superior to the Greeks, has lost operational confidence. The Phoenicians, having suffered the heaviest losses, are demoralized. Ionian Greek crews, conscripted into Persian service, question their loyalty. The fleet's capacity for coordinated offensive operations is shattered. Xerxes faces strategic crisis. His land army occupies Athens but cannot advance farther south without naval support. The isthmus walls are too strong for frontal assault. If the Persian fleet cannot break the Greek navy, the army is trapped in central Greece, vulnerable to Greek counterattack, exposed to supply line disruption. The great king convenes his commanders. The Phoenician admirals advocate withdrawal, retreating to Asia Minor, wintering the fleet, resuming operations in spring. Mardonius, Xerxes' most trusted general, proposes an alternative. Xerxes returns to Persia with the fleet and the bulk of the army, leaving a select force of 300,000 men under Mardonius' command to continue the land campaign. The compromise preserves Xerxes' prestige. He avoids the appearance of defeat by remaining on campaign while acknowledging operational reality. Xerxes accepts Mardonius' plan. The great king withdraws, taking the fleet and most of the army. Mardonius remains in Greece with the occupying force. The campaign is suspended, not concluded. Salamis is the decisive naval engagement of the war. The Greek fleet survives, maintaining control of the Aegean. The Persians cannot invade the Peloponnese, cannot supply forces via maritime routes, cannot threaten Greek islands. The strategic balance shifts. The battle also validates Themistocles' grand strategy. By investing in naval power, Athens transforms itself from vulnerable land power to formidable maritime state. The victory is specifically Athenian. The Athenian contingent comprises half the Greek fleet, executes the critical maneuvers, sustains proportionally equal casualties. Athens' claim to Greek leadership is cemented. For Persia, Salamis is not catastrophic but constraining. The empire retains vast military resources, controls much of Greece, possesses the army to continue the war. But the operational flexibility is reduced. The fleet's defeat forces reliance on overland supply lines, lengthens logistics chains, exposes forces to Greek counteroffensive. The war is not over. Mardonius winters in Thessaly, preparing for renewed offensive in spring. The Greeks, emboldened by Salamis, prepare the hoplite levy for decisive land battle. The final engagement approaches. Winter 480 to 479 BCE, Mardonius occupies Thessaly and Boeotia. Deliberately avoiding destruction of agricultural infrastructure, he needs the land to supply his force. The Persian general deploys psychological warfare, offering Athens generous terms: restoration of autonomy, compensation for war damages, alliance with Persia. The offer is strategic. If Athens defects, the Greek coalition collapses. The Spartans cannot defend the Peloponnese alone. The Athenians refuse. The city lies in ruins, its temples burned, but the democracy survives in exile on Salamis. The Athenians send envoys to Sparta, demanding the Peloponnesians march north to confront Mardonius. The Spartans hesitate winter campaigns, violate religious convention, and the isthmus fortifications remain the safest defensive position. Mardonius occupies Athens a second time in spring 479 BCE, repeating surrender offers. The Athenians reject them again, threatening to accept Persian terms if Sparta does not act. The pressure succeeds. Sparta mobilizes the full Peloponnesian levy, approximately 35,000 hoplites, supported by 35,000 light infantry. The Spartan regent Pausanias, commanding in place of the infant king, leads the army north. The Greek coalition assembles at Plataea, a small city in Boeotia loyal to Athens. The combined force numbers approximately 70,000 hoplites and 35,000 light infantry, the largest Greek army ever fielded. Contingents come from Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Megara, and dozens of smaller polities. The coalition represents unprecedented unity. Mardonius withdraws from Athens, burning the city a second time. He retreats to Boeotia, selecting terrain favorable to cavalry operations. The Persians fortify a camp near the Asopus River, constructing wooden palisades. Mardonius commands approximately 70,000 infantry and 10,000 cavalry subject peoples from across the empire, plus Greek allies from Thebes and other collaborating cities. The armies face each other across the Asopus River for 10 days. Neither commander wishes to attack. Pausanias recognizes that crossing the river under Persian archery and cavalry harassment invites disaster. Mardonius understands that assaulting the Greek phalanx in defensive position repeats the errors of Thermopylae. Both await the opponent's mistake. Mardonius deploys cavalry to disrupt Greek logistics. Persian horsemen raid supply convoys, contaminate water sources, harass foraging parties. The Greeks, dependent on supply lines from the Peloponnese, suffer mounting shortages. The coalition begins fracturing. Some contingents advocate withdrawal. Pausanias orders a nighttime redeployment. The Greek army will withdraw to a position near Plataea, offering better water access and shorter supply lines. The maneuver is complex, moving 100,000 men in darkness, maintaining unit cohesion, avoiding detection. The execution is disastrous. Several contingents misunderstand orders or refuse to move, fearing the withdrawal is retreat. The Athenian and Spartan contingents become separated. At dawn, the Greek army is scattered across several miles of terrain, formations disrupted, units isolated. Mardonius observes the chaos and orders general attack. The Persian cavalry strikes the disorganized Greek columns. The light infantry archers, javelin men harass isolated hoplite units, but the Greeks do not rout. Despite the confusion, individual contingents form phalanxes, creating defensive hedgehogs. The discipline holds. The Spartans, approximately 10,000 hoplites plus perioikal light infantry, form phalanx on low ground near the Asopus. Mardonius personally leads the Persian and Median infantry, perhaps 40,000 men against them. The Persians construct improvised barricade using wicker shields, establishing defensive position. From behind this screen, archers deliver sustained volley fire into the Spartan ranks. The Spartans cannot advance. The archery pins them in place. They cannot withdraw. Mardonius infantry blocks retreat. Pausanias sacrifices animals, seeking favorable omens before ordering assault. The omens are negative. The Spartans wait, enduring arrow storm, men falling, maintaining formation. The Tegean contingent, positioned next to the Spartans, can no longer tolerate the delay. Without orders, the Tegeans charge the Persian barricade. The Spartans, seeing their allies advance, follow. The phalanx surges forward. The collision shatters the Persian position. The wicker barricade, effective against archery, cannot stop bronze-armored hoplites. The Spartans thrust spears over shields, driving into Persian infantry. The Persians fight desperately. Mardonius rides among them, urging resistance. But the phalanx is unstoppable. Mardonius falls, killed by a Spartan named Themistocles. With the commander's death, the Persian line collapses. Meanwhile, the Athenians, positioned a mile distant, engage the Greek collaborators Thebans fighting for Persia. The combat is bitter. Greek against Greek, hoplite against hoplite. The phalanx doctrines are identical, the equipment matched. The battle is decided by numbers and morale. The Athenians, fighting for survival, push harder. The Thebans, fighting for dubious cause, break first. The Persian infantry flees toward the fortified camp. The Spartans pursue, but the palisade walls halt their advance. Hoplites are infantry, not siege troops. They lack scaling equipment, battering rams, siege doctrine. The Persians, safe behind fortifications, rain arrows on the attackers. The Athenians arrive, bringing with them engineers and experience in wall assault. The Greeks breach the palisades. The slaughter is total. The Persians, trapped inside the camp, cannot escape. The Greeks storm through, killing without mercy. Persian casualties number 40,000 to 50,000. The precise figure is unknown. The massacre too complete for accurate count. A Persian contingent escapes north, retreating through Thessaly toward the Hellespont. Greek pursuit is limited. The hoplite levy must return to farms. The campaign season ends. But the Persian field army in Greece is annihilated. On the same day as Plataea, or so legend claims, the Greek fleet engages Persian naval forces at Mycale, on the Anatolian coast. The Persians, having beached their fleet for repairs, construct defensive palisade. The Greeks land marines, assault the fortifications. The Ionian Greeks, conscripted into Persian service, defect during battle, joining the Greek attack. The Persian camp is overrun, the fleet burned. Mycale is less a battle than a symbolic closure. The Persian fleet, already demoralized after Salamis, ceases to exist as operational force. The Greeks control the Aegean. Ionian cities revolt, expelling Persian garrisons. The empire's European holdings collapse. Xerxes remains in Persia, never again attempting Greek invasion. The strategic calculus has shifted. The cost of conquering Greece exceeds the value. The Greeks are too unified, too tactically proficient, too willing to sacrifice. The empire redirects resources toward internal stability and other frontiers. The Greeks, emboldened by victory, formed the Delian Liga naval alliance led by Athens, ostensibly to liberate Ionian cities and prevent future Persian aggression. The League collects tribute, maintains standing fleet, prosecutes offensive operations against Persian territories. Within decades, the League transforms into Athenian Empire, the tribute becoming taxation, the alliance becoming subjugation. The Greco-Persian Wars continue sporadically until 449 BCE, when the Peace of Chalcidice is historical. Sources are ambiguous, formalizes détente. Persia acknowledges Greek independence. Greeks cease attacks on imperial territory. The Eastern Mediterranean stabilizes. The Greco-Persian Wars are not inevitable. Persian victory is plausible at multiple points. If the Ionian revolt had been managed diplomatically, if Marathon had deployed cavalry, effectively if Thermopylae had been abandoned by all Greeks, if Themistocles had failed to deceive Xerxes, if Pausanias had refused to march north. The Greek victories are contingent, achieved through tactical innovation, strategic insight, and desperate courage. The wars established the phalanx as the dominant infantry system in the Mediterranean for the next 150 years. The doctrine's strengths, armored cohesion, shock power, civic discipline defying Greek military culture until Macedonian pike phalanxes and combined arms doctrine supersede it. The wars also established the ideological framework of East versus West. The Greeks interpret their victory as freedom triumphing over despotism, citizen soldiers defeating conscript masses, democratic virtue overcoming imperial tyranny. The narrative is simplistic. Persia is not uniformly tyrannical. Greece is not uniformly free, but it persists. Western civilization constructs its identity partly through opposition to the Oriental other, a dichotomy rooted in these wars. For Persia, the wars are peripheral. The empire survives another 150 years until Alexander's conquest. The loss of Greece is geopolitical annoyance, not existential threat. The empire's core Iran, Mesopotamia, Egypt remains intact. The Achaemenid bureaucracy, military system, and cultural prestige endure. But for Greece, the wars are transformative. Athens emerges as naval superpower, Sparta as preeminent land power. The rivalry between them, democracy versus oligarchy, sea versus land, will ignite the Peloponnesian War, tearing Greece apart within 50 years of defeating Persia. The unity achieved at Plataea is temporary, destroyed by internal competition. The irony is profound. The Greeks defeat the empire that threatened their freedom, then destroy each other in struggle for dominance. The victory at Plataea is followed by civil war. The freedom defended at Thermopylae is undermined by Athenian imperialism. The battlefield at Marathon, where Greeks proved their courage, becomes memory invoked by orators during internecine slaughter. The Greco-Persian Wars end not with peace but with exhaustion. Persia withdraws. Greece fractures. The canvas of conflict, painted in blood across 50 years, yields no final masterpiece, only the recognition that war, even defensive war, even victorious war, exacts costs that transcend the battlefield. The ridge at Thermopylae remains. The plain at Marathon is quiet. The strait at Salamis reflects unchanged sunlight. The battles are history. The questions endure. You have witnessed the craft of ancient warfare, the logistical machinery, the tactical geometry, the human cost of bronze and courage. The Greco-Persian Wars are not ancient history. They are case studies in strategic decision-making under uncertainty, in the friction between plan and execution, in the asymmetry between imperial power and civic resistance. At War Atelier, we analyze conflict as art and science, the brutal calculus of violence, rendered with precision and context. If this exploration of Marathon's desperate charge, Thermopylae's calculated sacrifice, Salamis' operational deception, and Plataea's decisive slaughter has expanded your understanding of warfare's complexity, subscribe to our channel. Every week we dissect the battles that shaped civilizations, the campaigns that redrew borders, the commanders who mastered or failed to master the art of organized violence. Join us in the Atelier. The canvas of history awaits your examination. War Atelier, where strategy meets history.